It's that time again. It's the Berkey and the Badger Board Game Babble Show. It's going to get wild. It's going to get wacky. It might even get a little zany. We're going to talk about board games and the board game industry. And, you know, we might talk about anything else we want to talk about. Hey, hey, hey! It's the Berkey and the Badger. Welcome, Babbleites, to the fair kingdom of Babblot, and my wonderful kingdom where I'm the honorable, humble, very humble King Berkey. I'm the host of this elegant podcast, direct from YouTube via StreamYard and broadcasting into Facebook, where everyone is a board game enthusiast, from your humble king right down to the most exotic, fantastic food taster. Oh, yes, welcome. Welcome, Sir Badger the Brave, our court jester.
Yes, and Happy New Year to everybody here. Especially, Happy New Year, sire.
Happy New Year to you, sir, and Happy New Year to all of our wonderful followers in Babblot.
Yes, you board gamers. Shall we have a rundown? Yes, we shall.
Let's do that. I see Trent Turner. Welcome, Trent. So good to see you. You can join us live right now, too, if you're seeing this, and join in on the fun.
Yes. So what's going to be happening in this podcast, this live stream podcast, is we're just going to go through quickly what's been happening in Babblot, so what's been basically happening in King Berkey's life and in Peasant Badger's life. And then we're going to have a big section about the good, the bad, and the ugly, talking about games we've played for the first time, or maybe reviewing them kind of like for the first time, because some of these games I've played not for the first time, but for the first time. Anyway, before we slide off into our
first time,
you're in a singing mood. A singing mood.
Feels like the first time.
It does indeed. And then we're going to go to our Babble subject, where we're going to be talking about the best of times. It was the best
of times. It was the best of times.
It was the worst.
It was the worst of times. Mostly we're going to focus on the best of times.
Yes, we are indeed, he said, moving his keyboard. Happy New Year. Brent.
Cheers to all of our followers with my wonderful Game Topper Berkey mug.
Wow, yeah, that looks round like you.
Yeah, it's like Potbelly. They actually call it Potbelly, and I resemble that. Yeah.
There's another Potbelly. That's Obelix, who has
Potbelly. Yes.
with a new book coming out later. Ooh, I'm looking forward to that. A new Asterix book to read.
Wow.
Totally off board game subject there.
Well, tell us a little bit, Sir Badger, of what's been happening in your neck of Babblot.
Oh, in my neck of Babblot, not a lot is happening because we're locked in our houses, and then we're out, and then we're locked back in again, and we're out again, and then we're locked in again. So as you can see, luckily I've got my friend here, my first love. So yeah, I've been busy working, creating sounds and music. If you've recently received the new Chronicles of Crime, the 1400, the 1900, and the 2400, you can play the 1400 because all the stories are available, and you can play them now with atmospheric sounds of the medieval France, medieval Paris, to be precise. So yeah, I created a load of sounds. I think there's about 15 different sounds, which are on a loop, unfortunately. But hey ho, what can you do? They need as little space as they possibly can to download onto your app. So you can have like out in a street with merchants and everything, or you can have in a quiet room where maybe a scene of a crime is taking place, and you'll be putting the puzzle pieces together to to figure out who did what, where, and in what room, with a crowbar maybe. But anywho.
Well, I saw that you recently just put out a statement on your Patreon because you've been so involved now with gaming music that it's really taken over a lot of your life. It's even been hard for us to get together at times. You know, we had planned a podcast, and this time it was my fault. We had planned a podcast last week, and then we ended up having this great big snowstorm in Minnesota, and we had to postpone it today. But you've been so busy with doing all these wonderful music projects. You made an announcement to your Patreon followers that you're basically going to take a little bit of a hiatus from that, but you made available to your Patreon backers a lot of amazing sound effects. And I was listening to the Abyss soundtrack the other day. Ooh, and I was going, my goodness, this is good stuff. People haven't heard of this, I don't think, because it's really good stuff, Barry.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I made it available to the Patreons so they could download it for free as kind of a payback for all the material that I hadn't been producing over this past year, which is sad. I did a few videos, some few reviews, but it was just like, I can't take your money and not give you much back. Our reviews are kind of on a pause. I mean, I can review here. We can post stuff from Berkey and Badger, but that's not the same as doing a full-blown review once a week at least, to try and keep people in the picture of what games are worth spending their money on. I'm busy. I'll have another CD out soon for another board game. Let me pull it up for you. Yes, in March. I'm just in the final touches of... No, not that one. I'm in the final touches of mixing and mastering the soundtrack to a board game, which is coming in March, which was a Kickstarter. And that game is from Holy Grail Games, and it's called Titan. So that soundtrack will be coming out soon. Another soundtrack that I've just started working on... very recently is another Kickstarter, which is Kemet Blood and Sand.
Oh wow, I love Kemet.
Yeah, so music takes up a lot of my time, and I shouldn't keep playing with that spoon. Put the spoon over there. Stay.
That just reminded me another one of the great memories I've had in gaming that didn't make my top 5, but it's like I probably could have snuck it in there maybe too. I don't know. I had a great experience playing Kemet with our good friends at the Dukes of Dice years ago at BGG Con with just had a great time there. I see Ben Lunches is in the chat.
Yes, he likes your sweater.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Got hoodies in and they are these really cool hoodies where they have spandex on the sides, like here, an expansion panel. Woo-hoo! So we can grow and bloom and blossom.
Space for beer.
It's and it's got pockets, so I can put my pockets in here. Yeah, it's awesome.
Sweet. Yeah. So I've been busy with music, and of course I've been working on Sirenscape, doing the Curse of Strahd adventure, which I'm nearly done. I'm just creating a few more battle movement music tracks to go with the other 15 odd that are in there, and then all the ambience of Castle Ravenloft and things like that. So that's been occupying my time. Whereas on the other hand, another thing that's been occupying my time is keeping my wife occupied, because she's still trying to do that 6,000 piece jigsaw puzzle.
Oh no!
Of the
it's taking up the whole table.
It's taken up the whole table. So every day when we eat, we put like this big plastic overlay, heat resistant overlay on it, and then you're eating and you're like, that piece could go over there. You stick your hand in there and you're like, there you go. But, my wife is having fun doing a 6,000 piece jigsaw puzzle.
Ben says, does she know about the piece that you took? Keep it in your office in this little space. Where is that piece?
Yeah. That's what I'm planning to do at the end. And it's like, the Adam and Eve section of the Sistine Chapel. We're just going to take out that fig leaf from, where.
That's funny.
So what's been happening in our very north, close to the border of where the White Walkers walk?
Yes, at the wall. Well, Ben Lunches says that my sweatshirt, of course, with the hockey laces are very Minnesotan. Yeah, sure, you betcha. It's very Minnesotan, yeah. Up here in the Northwoods, yeah. Where Oli and Lena and Sven and all the Norwegians live up in here. Yeah, sure. But yeah, it's one of the things that, we had an amazing holiday time. Some of our local family was here, and we got an opportunity to play some board games, we make Chinese food on Christmas. So we made 80 egg rolls, make this big whoop-de-doo, chicken puffs and a shrimp stir fry. And we just go all out, and takes us like 3.5 hours just to prep everything and fry these egg rolls in peanut oil. And it's just really a treat, and we all get in on it. So had a great time over the holidays, and got to play some games on New Year's Day, actually. So that was really cool. But in Minnesota, you got to find stuff to do in the winter times, and there's a lot of outdoor things to do. And so I haven't done this for a long time. We've been traveling a lot in the last 3 years with Game Toppers, and but I found this fish house on the Facebook Marketplace. Barry, I think, might have a couple pictures of these I just sent him. But this fish house, it's built actually on an old Bethany camper frame. And I ended up getting this fish house for $350. It's all insulated, steel siding, the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah, it was like crazy. But the inside's a little racked off. They had a little fire on the floor. I think the heater fell over or something like that. So I went in there, I tore out all that, gutted all of that, the old that was with it. And now I've built a new window, or what you're seeing there is a new fender well with the batteries, so I can put in a new rubber floor over that whole floor. I tore up some of the old vinyl that isn't stuck. It has 6 holes, and now I'm cedering, putting cedar sliding inside the entire thing. So when I get all done with this bad boy, it's going to be ready to fish, baby. And so I've been having a lot of fun just in my spare time, which I haven't had much spare time for quite a while. But over this little break, I've had a little bit more time than normal, and I've been able to just get at it. And I'm hoping this weekend I'm going to take it out to a local lake about 10 miles from me that I hear the walleyes are biting, and we're going to fish. But when I go out fishing, it's a perfect opportunity to play games in the fish house. So yeah, when my 2 oldest daughters, Hannah and Maddie, were little, and Josiah and Gabby to a lesser extent, but we would take them out fishing. And it's kind of funny. My second daughter, Maddie, who has the costume company and does most of that, they live on a lake, and it's a little lake that winter killed a little while ago, so it's been restocked. And I asked her, she goes, "People are out here fishing." I said, "Oh, are they catching anything?" She goes, "Well, I'm not sure." And I said, "Yeah, it's about 40 minutes for me to drive to put the house up there." I said, "Does Jack go fishing?" And she goes, "No, not really." She goes, "But I do." So she wants to go fishing. So she's really excited about that. And that's kind of brings us back to when they were kids. We used to go all the time. So kind of excited about that.
Yeah, I don't think it matters if there is actually fish in the water. The fact that you go out, you do something different, you do a different kind of bonding, you have a different conversation than what you have when you're sat at home. I mean, I hated going fishing with my dad, but I enjoyed going fishing with my dad. It was always cold. The water would rock a lot. His little boat would toss me about, and I'd feel sick. But I had a nice hot flask of Bovril soup, and just being with him, talking, not very much because, teenagers don't really talk that much, but it was just just that nice sensation of just being out. And I was happy not to catch anything because it meant that I didn't have to kill anything.
Well, and it's very cold up here, and so it's you need to have a good shelter or something, and a little propane heater and that type of thing. But fishing up here, especially when you got a nice little house. This house here is almost 8 feet wide by 11 feet long, so has 6 holes. You can easily set 3 or 4 people in there. Easy 2 people and being very comfortable. And we bring out our little cook stove and grill and cook sausage in there. We make a whole day of it. So you got plenty of, and every now and then your rattle reel goes off and you catch a fish, and the rest of the time you're just enjoying some fellowship being out of the house.
Bonus. Sounds like fun.
Lots of fun. Well, with that, why don't we move on to our first sponsor?
Our first sponsor would be you.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Ta-da.
This video was made possible with the help of Game Toppers. Upgrade your gaming experience with a Game Topper.
I know it's kind of crazy. It's always feels a little self-serving, but I really don't ever feel pressure not to talk about Game Toppers because I love what I do with this. We love our product line. We love the benefit that it brings people and the joy that it brings people. And this holiday season, we were able to launch our new e-commerce store that's powered by Shopify that allowed us to streamline and really make that user experience so much easier than using the Pledge Manager software that we had done with Kickstarter. All of our product worldwide has now been shipped or is being shipped right now in Australia, actually. Everything else has been delivered. We're shipping out product every day. Tons of thematic, our premium 3mm game mats, different topper packages, the Scotland Yard package with our #1 selling Watson, with the extension leaves, which allow you to extend your topper. Also, our accessory rail that allows you to convert half of your topper into a mini topper was really highly well received. And I think what I just want to say is we still have product, but it's moving quickly. We're selling a lot every week. In fact, we're moving past some of our shippers' capacity each week during this holiday blitz time, that where shipping is a premium. But you'll see our website has been totally redone and re-wetted so that it's much more clean and easier to use. We've been able to put a little more attention into that. So if you're looking for a portable game top that can convert your existing table to a high quality board game table, check out GameToppersLLC.com, GameToppersLLC.com. And we have another Kickstarter that's going to be coming out at the end of March, early April. And when you see the new mats, the new models of toppers, and some very exciting things where we're introducing a new removable leg kit for our toppers, which will actually make your topper a standalone table. Super excited, and we've got a ton more than that to talk about, but just a little sneak peek. So thank you very much for indulging me a little bit there with our Game Toppers, but check us out at GameToppersLLC.com.
And there you have it.
And there you have it.
Definitely a well worth product, as spoken by a few people that have them.
Well, one thing that was really fun is we started a Game Topper Nation Facebook group, and we've got over 1,000 people in there that own Game Topper products. And I tell them, I say, hey, listen, this is just a place to share your fun. If you need customer service, this isn't the place. Just email me. I'll take care of whatever you need. But this is just a place to share fun. And you want to talk about the amazing, innovative ideas people have and the creativity and the joy that they express over this product. They felt, gosh, I finally can afford something. And this is just perfect for us. We didn't have a dedicated game space, and now we can convert the table in the kitchen. And a lot of people are using it as a dedicated table because they love the features of the card slots and the cup holders and all the things where they're not sacrificing a lick being that it's a portable top.
Yeah.
So it's just been super gratifying, and I cannot thank all of our backers and all the people that have supported us in the hobby, the media folks, and I mean, my heart is so full that it's very heartwarming. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for a fantastic product, which is just comfortable to play at, and c'est donne un petit je ne sais quoi when I play.
Yeah. Whatever you said, that's right. So we're going to move on to the good, the not so bad, and the ugly.
Bum, bum, bum. That's not it. We don't have one.
That was the news. Yeah, where did it go?
I lost it. I've lost it, and I haven't redone it.
Barry, we got to go find it. Go record it off an old episode.
Yes, I will do. So, yes, time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the not so bad, and the ugly.
The not so bad.
Yes, this is the a segment of the show where we talk about games that we've played for the very first time, and we give you our first impressions. And we play this. We kind of do a game out of it. We kind of vaguely describe the game to the other player, the other person, and obviously you listening or at home, and see if you try and figure out what game we're talking about, and then we ask you what we thought of that game, whether it was a good game, something that we would definitely play again, not so bad game, something that in the middle, and then obviously an ugly game, which is something that you don't want to spend time wasting playing it again. Yeah. So there you go. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And so, what is the first game that you had an opportunity then to talk about?
Okay, I'll talk about the newest of the new. This is definitely a game that I haven't played before until I played it just then. In this game, it's a worker placement game.
That?
Yep, and it's based on a video game, which is based on a app game where you are in the post-apocalyptic war, and you are trying to survive or trying to create an environment so the survivors do well and prosper, and you're trying to get a leg on the ladder to become the next overseer, he said.
Okay.
That's the key word, overseer. And it's basically a very simple game where you place a meeple on a worker space, which may give you some resources like energy, water, or food. And then you can use those resources by going on another space, which will create more of a population. So you have more workers. You can fight creatures that come in from the outside. And you can just build more rooms, and building more rooms is good because then you have more spaces, more actions that you can choose, and eventually you'll fill out your whole column to win the game.
Your whole column
to
win the game. Well, it sounds good, but I don't know what it is, so you have to let us in on that one.
Okay, I will let you in. Nobody's commenting on what it is. It's Fallout Shelter, the board game.
Fallout. Ben picked it up just right at the last minute. Way to go, Ben.
This is a very, very light worker placement game, but it's very enjoyable. Richard Ham kind of pointed out all the bad things about it, and I agree with him entirely that it is very, very, it's a gateway game, and I think that's a good idea in a way due to the fact that people that have played the app game will merge into this game quite easily and won't find any hurdles at learning the rules and how it works. But for experienced gamers, it can be not so fun because it's repetitive. The more you play it, it's just the more of the same thing. Richard pointed out that it is a case of the player that gets the most workers at the beginning has the biggest advantage, and there's no penalty like in Agricola, where the more workers you have, the more food you have to pay. There's none of that. So that kind of just opens the door, the floodgates for someone to get an easy victory. It's excellently presented by Fantasy Flight Games. The minis are beautiful. The tokens are perfect. The card art matches, obviously, the video game. And it is a fun game. Now, I've only played this 2-player because my daughter likes playing the app as well. And it's been like the game since I got it that we've played like almost once every week, because it's just that kind of light, fun game, which takes about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And it's I'm gonna spoil it.
Well, I'll go in and help you out there a little bit. I think you think this game is good.
Yes, it's on the verging of not so bad and good, due to the fact that it is a bit light, it is a bit repetitive, it needs some variants. Richard suggested some, which I've used, and they work quite well, having like maybe a starting room per player, and then adding your own kind of penalty for having more workers.
Okay.
But it's nice. The objects, the ideas are really, really good. It's light, it's simple, it's beautiful. It's sat on my shelf, and it's a game that I will definitely jump to in a heartbeat just to have a laugh.
Huh. Well, it sounds good. It looks great.
It's fantastic. The insert is perfect. Everything about the production is perfect. It's just the game is a little bit weak for us gamers. It could do with an expansion, which adds a bit of va-va-voom.
Va-va-voom.
Yeah.
Well, it is dystopian, so there's not much va-va-voom.
No. So,
all right. Well, very good. I have a game that we played. This is an older game. I feel like this game, I really honestly, we've done 83 episodes now, over a little over 4 years. And I can't really remember if we've talked about this. We may have, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. We had the opportunity to play it again. This is a game that is designed by Mario Polo, or yeah, I hope I said that right. And it was it was the same designer that did Libertalia. And this game was produced by Simon Games, cool mini or not. This was quite some time ago. I remember demoing this game with Michael Schindal from Simon, and that was a really great experience that I had with him at BGG one year. But Kabuki Kid is here. Woohoo! It's been a long time. How are you? So good to have you in the chat. It's feels like forever. Well, we love Kabuki Kid, so we love all of our followers. But so anyway, this game has these incredible miniatures. It's kind of weird. The art is kind of weird, but awesome. It's got these characters and these matching miniatures, and they all have a special ability, and it's basically a worker placement type of game where you're getting your captains and they're going out and they are doing battle, and by doing so, when you place on a particular spot, you are actually going to get rewards for those spots potentially. There's some that you don't, but you're trying to influence these houses that are on both sides of the track, and you're trying to win, and it kind of has an economic flair, because these houses can go up in influence, and at the end of the game, if you've supported that particular house, which you have a hand in trying to manipulate, you're going to get extra points. And so there's this back and forth, and as the game progresses, you get more captains and you do more things, and it gets very interesting after the fourth round. This game takes only about an hour and a half to play. It's a pretty good size game, but it sets up pretty easily, and it teaches pretty easily. What do you think I think about that?
Well, I've got to figure out what game it is first.
Yeah. I mean, what game that is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I wish I could describe the genre better, but it feels like kind of a weird dystopian Victorian kind of theme, if you will. I don't know if I'm explaining the genre very well. It's kind of weird. weird art, but really cool.
All right, so you're not building a robot, so that's Victorian Masterminds out, which is a cool
Yeah,
game. And I can't believe that you still say "come on," not "come on." Yeah, come on, Simon.
It's like now we're supposed to say "come on." I was like, I like Cool Mini or Not, to be honest. I thought it was stupid when they changed from Cool Mini or Not to Simon to Come On. It's just like it's confusing me, and I always refer to them very favorably with Cool Mini or Not because I associate the Mini obviously with a lot of their games, but not all their games are. So Come On is properly whatever.
Yeah.
Representing them.
Okay, I am. I've still got basic zombie side still in my head for some reason, but no, I can't think what this game is called. So you're gonna have to tell me.
Like I say, I think this is a little bit under the radar, surprisingly to me. But I don't know if anybody in the chat knows what game I'm referring to. Got Trent and Ben and Kabuki Kid. Do we have anybody else in there? We always have silent listeners on the live feed, too.
And we never know who's on Facebook.
Ben says World of Smog. That's not it. Good guess. Good guess. Well, going once, going twice. Sold. It is the game Dogs of War.
Ah, yes.
Dogs of War. While I'm talking a little bit more about it, you can pull up a couple pictures if you can on BGG.
I will look.
But Dogs of War has been one of our family's favorite games. I mean, it was so great to be able to get it out. Maddie was here, and my son Josiah, and then Joseph was here, one of our workers at our shop. And it's such a great game. You can play up to 5 players. There's variable characters, and they each have their own. The artwork is amazing. The components are fantastic. It's got a beautiful box. This back and forth tug of war is the best way to describe how you're influencing these houses. And they change every round. These cards go out and the houses are in different places. And you see these little, they're great miniatures. You don't even need them, but they're great. But what a fun, super game. I guess I just blew it there. What do you think about it? I started gushing before we even got to it.
We haven't done this for so long. We haven't talked about what we've played in so long. We're not used to this.
We've had to play, right?
Yeah. It's been, again, like you, New Year's Eve, we had my best friend around, Guillaume, who bought a game topper, who gushed over it and said, I'll tell you later. But we played some games from till 4 o'clock in the morning, which was fantastic. And then 8 o'clock, we were playing games again. So
that's awesome.
It is awesome. So I think you like this game.
Yeah, it's obviously very, very good, in my opinion. I think it's way under the radar. If you ever have an opportunity to get it, I don't even know if it's in print anymore. I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's a game from 2014. So
yeah, it's just fantastic. It's one of, Blood Rage is my favorite game of all time, of course, and I love that game. But this would rate up there probably with my second favorite game from Cool Mini or Not or Come On. I love it. I just love it. And we had a great time playing. It's so easy to teach, too, and it's an hour and a half. So it's simple to get to the table, and every game is different. There's just so much intrigue with every game. So gotta love it. And great big honking box. I got the gold cards at BGG Con, too, as a promo when I bought it there.
Yeah. So
I've got the gold foil you have these armies. You have the Arquebusier or the foot soldier, or you have the knight, or you have the war machine. And these are what give you influence on each track, and they range from 1 point all the way up to 7. But I've got the foil card versions of them, and I love that. So
all right. Okay. I had the feeling. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. What's your next one?
My next one. Okay. now that I'm looking at the picture, I'm thinking maybe I have talked about this on the show, but I'll go ahead anyway because it's a game that I played recently twice. After understanding the rules completely, I know I've played it a long time ago. I played it when it first came, and it went down not too good. But I played it recently twice, as I said, and it's a game where basically a player is put in the shoes of Ellen Ripley on a space station. She's woken up. She's totally lost. She doesn't remember which part of the ship she's in. She can't tell which hangar bay she's got to go to, but she's got some objectives, and so she's starting to explore the ship bit by bit. And another player or several other players are controlling the menacing creatures that are skulking around the ship, trying to hamper this player from lasting and until they finish their objectives. The game is basically the hero doing all the actions and the monster player reacting time after time, maybe, to the actions that the hero does. So they can play a card as long as it, not Predator, Ben, as long as it refers to the action that the hero has done. So if they've done a move action, they can play a card which is a move card with a special ability. But every time something moves or something spawns from the monster's end, they have to tell the hero player that there was a noise to the north, or there was a noise from another level. So throughout the game, one player is trying to complete their objectives, while the other player is trying to hamper them by doing a lot of control because they have a map, but the hero player doesn't.
Okay. Wow. Well, I know that, Upper Deck did the Aliens game, but that's a deck builder, so that wouldn't make sense.
That's a pretty good game as well.
Yeah, I hear good things about that one, but I don't know if I know this game.
Okay.
Ben thought it was Predator. Is it Alien versus Predator? Is it Alien Station? What
Alien
is it?
Station. It could be an Alien Station, but it's not. It is Alone.
Alone.
From Horrible Games, which came out a couple of years ago on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
They recently redid a reversion, expansion. Sorry, my tongue is getting the best of me. And yeah, it's a reverse dungeon crawl. Instead of like one DM against loads of heroes, it's one hero against lots of DMs. But in fact, this game works perfectly well, a one-on-one. Although it is a bit hard to be the monster master because you've got so much to manage in regards to keeping the map up to date, informing the hero what they're doing, looking at all your cards and reading all the information on your cards to know what to play and when to play it. But it is a very atmospheric game, especially if you're the hero. But if you're the monster player, then it's not so atmospheric. It's a case of, you're trying to put up as many roadblocks as possible. So,
well, I mean, you hinted a little bit that you didn't like it initially, but now you've played it twice. But it feels like there might be a little bit of limitation there that you're not totally fond of. So I think I'm going to say that you think it's not so bad.
It is. It is not so bad. It is not so bad. It's a game which is kind of hampered by all the information, but everything is thematic. All the mechanisms are thematic. It's like not Reiner Knizia, but a Vlada Chevadel game. Everything is, all the rules and all the mechanisms mesh together and are thematic and work really well. It's just remembering them, and then that obviously has an effect on the speed of the game. The game is kind of really chuggy. You're going back and forth. Can I do this? Can I do that? If I do that, if I switch on a light and it goes this far, does that alien get shown or not? So there's all these questions that you have to keep referring to the rule book from. And again, in these two other plays, we were in and out of the rule books because there were questions that popped up, and it was like a case of just clarifying something But yeah, I enjoyed it though. I mean, I played the monster player both times, not the hero, but it's the hero player that has the most fun because, as I said, they are the hero and they are exploring and discovering things and running away from things and shooting things and trying to find things with their scanner and with their, any other equipment that they have. It's a case. That's the other great thing. The equipment, you can break something and upgrade something else with the components from that piece. And there's just so many things to like. And I'm sure that if I played it weekly, there'd be no rules looking. And again, the game would be seamless. And there's lots of different missions. You get 3 missions per game. 2 of them are secondary, and then there's a final one. So you can do one of the secondaries, and then you definitely do the final one. And then you've got like 8 of each. And so you shuffle these and you have 3 different things going off. And one of the secondaries might be kind of like a penalty to the hero. So there might be an alarm going off all the time, which they have to deactivate, or they might not want to deactivate, but deactivating it actually is a not a malice. Oh, what's malice in English? Forget my English words, but it's a penalty. It's a penalty for the hero. Okay. So it hinders them. And unless they do it, then that hindrance is gone. Okay. But they can do it with that hindrance. It's thematic, it's beautiful, it's very clunky. But with more playing, I'm sure that this would be definitely a game that I'm gonna,
Well, that's a real beloved theme, so I could see people enjoying that theme for sure, and especially if that comes out really well. Yeah. Well, I played another game that was a little bit more of a filler game. Towards the end, we had a little bit of time in between supper because for New Year's Day, I smoked the most glorious brisket that I think I have ever smoked. This baby was 18 pounds of prime brisket. I rubbed it with my Happy Mouse spice. I had my apple, hickory, and cherry wood smoke in the smoker. I did it the night before, New Year's Eve at 11 o'clock. It went into the smoker. And by 6 o'clock the next day, we were eating this glorious, juicy brisket. Now, when we're talking brisket now instead of board games, but when Brisket and Board Games, the new podcast show coming directly from Berkey and Badger, Board Game Brisket Show.
Perfect.
Board games and brisket.
You got to post it.
Yeah. So anyway,
brisket. Post it. They don't have brisket in France.
You don't have brisket?
I'm lying.
Oh,
I'm lying.
Oh, yeah, you got to have brisket. Okay, so anyway, brisket. I'm still eating brisket, actually. It's been fantastic. So you rub this whole thing with our Happy Mouth. You smoke it for a long time. But when you do brisket, what happens is brisket hits a stall at about 160 degrees. At that point, you wrap it in this pink butcher paper that is made for barbecuing. And then I take a little bit of apple juice and I spritz it, and that keeps some of the moisture in there. And it takes about 2 hours where it does not move a degree. And you think something's wrong with your thermometer. You think something's wrong, but it's during this stall, they call it, that's when all the connective tissues are just starting to break down. And then all of a sudden you kick that baby breaks through the stall, and it'll go up to 195, 200 degrees is about where I usually have it. And then you slice that cross grain, and you want to talk about some good eating. You think Arby's got the meats? Berkey's got the meats.
I was getting confused because you said you smoked some brisket, and I could see you sat out on your porch with a brisket in your mouth, and you can't light.
Too hard to light. Yeah.
And then when you said it hits a stool, did someone like throw the brisket at a stool?
It just quits cooking, it seems like, but it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So it's but that's what barbecue aficionados, you'll see the term stall. So anyway, we were getting ready to eat the brisket, and we weren't going to start a great big game and then have to pause and stall the game to eat our brisket. But I've been working long and hard on this brisket, so we're going to eat that brisket and Anyway, so we decide on this filler game. It's a trick-taking game, but interesting, it only has 3 suits.
Ooh, that rings a bell.
It has dwarves.
Yes.
It has elves.
Yes.
And it has
humans.
Goblins.
Oh, goblins.
No, it has humans, goblins, and dwarves. Now,
by Bruno Fedduti.
Bruno Fedduti.
Mm-hmm.
Tutti Frutti. Bruno Fedduti. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
He's a Frenchman from your country as well, right?
Yes.
Very popular game company, Yellow Games.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess what it is? Or anybody else?
I can guess what it is.
You can guess what it is. Do you play this game?
I've played it, and it's in my for sale pile, unfortunately.
Oh, interesting.
It's a game that I want to play, but I can't play because people don't want to play it. And I've got other trick-taking games which get to the table a little bit more easily.
Trent Turner, da-ding! He wins a prize. You win the prize that says you got it right. You're the Dwarf King. There it is. It's called Dwarf King. It's a simple game to teach, but what's interesting about this game is it only has 3 suits. One thing that drives me nuts is that the goblins are actually red, I believe, and the dwarves are the color of the card is green, and you're always expecting a goblin to be green, and a dwarf you wouldn't expect to be green, but that's actually the colors they used when you're setting your suits. There are a bunch of objectives, and you pick out, I think there's 11 or 12 that come in the box, and you pick out 7 of those objectives, and we go through those objectives, and each trick series is different, very much like the Crew. Mm-hmm. If you have the 5s of the suit, you're going to play out that if you have the blue 5, for instance, you get to start and you get to pick. This objective is going to have 2 options. It's going to have kind of like a positive option, or like this one here, Barry's posting, it says 4 tricks. You get 5 points for each, for if you take exactly 4 tricks. Or 2 tricks, you get 5 points if you take exactly 2 tricks. So that's the goal of this round of play. And you have 4 players. This continues on, and the scoring is interesting. It can be real negative scoring if there's a lot of negativity, like if you don't get your 4 tricks, you're going to lose, or whatever the objective would be, you lose 5 points. There's one objective that's kind of like when you're playing hearts, if you get the queen, you go back a certain amount of points, things like that. And that's essentially what it is. It's an interesting take on trick-taking games with 3 players. What do you think I think about it?
I think you love it.
You think I love it?
I love it. I like games like that. I like the rules changing. I like the fact that there's 3 suits as well, which makes it, it makes it a little bit more easy to calculate what's been played, what's not been played. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you have these extra cards which come into play as well. You have like a new card in the deck every game, which does something different. I love the game personally. I love the game, but I can't get anyone to play it. But I think you think this game is great, because I do. Yeah,
I think it's good. There's no question. I've had this game for 4 or 5 years. It's just that really great little filler weight game, can be played well under an hour, 45 minutes if everybody knows what you're doing. It's simple to teach. I really do like the artwork. It's just that color thing that is always a disconnect.
It throws you.
And then we always talk about it too. It's like, okay, I remember. Oh yeah, I remember we already had this discussion. But it has that feeling of the Crew to a lesser degree, because the Crew goes much longer missions and maybe even a little more complex missions. But just that choice of whether depending on what you've gotten in your hand, you take a look at all these cards in your hand, and you're going, okay, I think I got a good hand, but you don't know if you have a good hand. It depends on the objective. So you really want that 5 blue cards so you can choose the objective. But that's a randomization thing. So then you could screw up your hand. Sometimes it's like the middle after 2 tricks have been taken, switch your hand to the player to the left.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's things you just can't control, and it screws you up. But it's so interesting and so fun. It keeps you engaged. I think it's really good. It's a great little game, easy, accessible, and I don't think anybody will be major disappointed to go spend $20 on that.
No, it's well presented. It's in a lovely little box.
It's got that magnetic box like Biblios has, where it folds nice. And
you know what? I might pull it out and just keep it for the sake of it.
You better keep it. Find some couple people you can play with.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I did buy it to play with my family, but I got the French version, so they don't read French, and there's a little bit of text here and there, and they can't remember the rules, so I can't play it with them. The French people I know don't like Bruno Fiduti, so they don't like this game. But really? I have Camelot's of Camelot's Tournament of Camelot, which
Turner was great.
You told me was great. I picked it up, and I play that a lot. My friends play it as well. It's in English, but my French friends don't care. They can read English. Okay. That's the winner. That's the game that I keep. It's Tournament of Camelot.
There you go. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, do you have another game you want to talk about?
Okay. Yes, I do.
We're doing a lot of games now because it's been a while since we've really talked about good, bad night. We've had a lot of guests on the show, and then honestly, we haven't had that many games to play, but we actually got a few in over the holidays. So
we'll spend another 10 minutes just talking about a game each, and then we'll go into our babble.
There you go.
And
we're gonna have a fun babble topic. Stay tuned.
Okay, right. This next game I played on my own over Christmas. The kids were a nightmare, and it's a game that you can play on your own, or you can play up to 5 players.
Okay.
This is a game that's been sat on my shelf for a long time. I've had it since it practically came out. It's a second version of the same game, but this time it uses an app where you're going to be fighting. Well, you're not supposed to be fighting. You're doing detective work. You're crawling around a house, looking for clues, trying to figure out what's going on. But weird stuff is going on. Creatures appearing from nowhere, portals appearing in walls, and weird cultists doing prayers and doing weird stuff. And you just basically trying to put the pieces together. Don't know if Berkey's got it, but I know that Ben has got it.
I was just going to say, this sounds like Mansions of Madness.
Yeah, it is indeed.
There it is. Big app, great production value from Fantasy Flight Games.
Yes. So I've kind of finally got it to the table. It's not the first time that I played it over Christmas. I did play it once before, but I just kind of got lost in it and didn't understand it. Yes, Ben, it does play at 1. You have to take on 2 characters.
It still integrates the app on the solo version, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. But you need the app. You can't play it without the app. And out of all the Fantasy Flight games which use an app, this is the best ones that I find works really well. With the Star Wars and the Descent, it doesn't. I don't know. I just can't get used to it. But this game just smooth kind of mystery with a lot of storytelling. Everything that you do is really interesting. The way that you fight monsters, it depends on the weapon that you want to use. Will give you a different kind of outcome and a different kind of combat, which is great. The minis keep falling off their stands because for some strange reason, Fantasy Flight did a bad job with the minis. Which is not a thing that you normally say about Fantasy Flight, is it?
No, not at all.
No.
Are they too soft to plastic or what?
No, they need to be assembled into the bases, but they pop out really easily, or the plastic hasn't been cut properly. You know, there's the spools still, and sometimes they won't go in because the spool is still hanging out. And so, you pop them into their holes, and then you pop them back in the box, and they pop back out. So this is a game that I'm probably going to have to get glued. I'm going to get painted. This is probably one of those games that I'm going to get painted. I know someone that can paint them. So, get them painted, get them glued, and I will play this game again, he said, given a clue.
Well, I'm going to say it's good. You know, it's obviously is good.
Yes, it is good. It's very thematic. It is kind of, you're like 50-50 on the board game, 50-50 into the app, which might put a lot of people off. But it plays really well. The atmosphere is really good. The music is excellent, and the effects are excellent. That's one thing that I really enjoy when you're playing a game with an app is music which keeps changing, which keeps the tension, as well as all the artwork on the cards and everything. That has some really nice mechanics, like the decks of cards. They're face up. And you have to, if you've got a spell, you take the first spell of that name, and you place it face up in front of you. Once you use that spell, you flip the card over, because there's a penalty for using that spell. Sometimes it will warp your mind because it's quite powerful. And each of these spells are different. So they're the same spell, so you can cast a spell to do something, but the penalty will be different. The wounding and mental health damage as well, really, really good. You either take the card face down, which counts as a point against your health or your mental stability, or you take it face up, and it has a bit of kind of text explaining what's happened, and then it'll say you have to keep this card face up, and every time you do this, that happens. You roll one less dice. It's like, it has so many great ideas. It has so much theme. There's some little mini games in the app as well. So if you've played things like Road Rush, where you've got to get the car out, but there's all these other cars blocking, there's a little puzzle like that. There's a slide puzzle. There's a kind of mastermind guess the number puzzle. And all these things are in the game. So you're playing the game and doing these puzzles and the story and then the combat. Everything about this game just blows my mind.
Wow. Yeah, I hear such great things about it. I've never played it. To my chagrin, I've never played a Cthulhu-themed game.
No?
Yeah, I haven't played Arkham Horror. I haven't played. I have Death May Die. We just haven't got it to the table yet. But we actually are doing a Cthulhu-themed game mat for our next Kickstarter. It's really awesome. So I love the art, and I understand a little bit about the mythos and all that kind of stuff. I just haven't actually played one. And so that's kind of interesting. I got a buddy who has it and wants to bring it over. So we might be able to do that here in the near future. So we'll see what happens.
That's definitely something I would look into, a nice Cthulhu board game mat, because I got a few Cthulhu games, as I was telling Richard Lonius. Big fan of second edition Arkham Horror.
I actually did a little bit of getting some advice and brainstorming with Richard on that, and going through a little bit more of the mythos and the island rising and Cthulhu coming out, and the ship running away from it and all of that kind of thing. So we have some pretty exciting things. It's going to look pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, those bases are terrible, Ben, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
It kind of put me off buying an expansion as well. But at the same time, that's another thing. There's only like 4 missions. You buy this big, like $60 box, $70 box, and there's only 4 missions. And there's extra missions that you can buy, but there's extra missions that you'll get with expansions. That's the only bummer about the game as well. So the minis and not enough missions. Although the missions are random, like the monsters will be different each time, or the room placement will be slightly different.
Okay.
Good thing about the app. Sorry.
Well, no problem. I'll give my last one, and we'll move on to the Babble topic. But the game that I played is a World War II game, and I have to say, it's about controlling the world. It's huge. Believe me when I say it. It's the most luxurious, hugely, bigly thing that you've ever played. I've always had aspirations of controlling the world. I really have. It's not working, but I've really had that. But sorry, comedy, everybody,
Comedy, yes.
comedy.
Someone retweet that.
So it's this huge game, World War II, and it has this Axis and Allies type of feel to it. Huge honking neoprene mat that came with it. And it's interesting. It differs from Axis and Allies. And there's a lot more going on with the strategic planning of each round. And there's actually some bidding for initiative, in a sense, that goes on. And before I get too much more into the explanation, do you know what this game is? Yes, and Ben is asking it as a circular map. And I'm going to give you the clue that yes, it is. Looks like a great big honking globe.
Okay, I was worried that you was talking about that game that you talked about last time, which was about the one with the app where everyone communicates with their telephone underneath the table.
No, that was called Leaders, and that very much had an Axis and Allies type feel. But I'm not that absent-minded that I would do that one right now. I'm close, but not quite that bad. Yes, Kabuki Kid, says Larry Harris. And are they talking about War Room? Exactly what they're talking about. War Room.
War Room. Okay.
A 3-play version. Josiah got this game, and he got the big honking with the expansion. And I mean, these boxes are these huge. You can see my arms are way big outside now. I mean, these boxes are huge, big honking boxes, and there's 2 of them with the expansion. Great big mat. The mat came all crinkled up. There you see the board with cardboard, but they have a huge version that's a mat. But it was folded. It was rolled and folded and folded, and it puckers everywhere. And I was so frustrated with that stupid mat. I thought, that's not how you deliver mats to people. I know better. And I can't believe you did this, because it's gorgeous, but it's huge, and you want to play on it, but your tokens fall off. But look at these cool little tokens. They stack on one another. And there's different battleships. There's naval battles. There's land troops. There's air troops. So you have all of those things that you would have in a war game that's just a little more detailed. The map being round is quite a bit different than what you're used to when you're playing an Axis and Allies type of war game. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But what do you think I think about this?
I'm not getting good vibes out of you just because of the map. So I'm going to say not so bad.
It really did tick me off. I got to be honest. I kept commenting on it. I said, and Josiah's pretty calm, level-headed, and I'm like, I would let them know that, hey, this isn't okay. Yeah. But not to be mean to them, but it's an expensive mat, and it's an expensive game, and it makes it kind of unusable.
You make your own then, won't you? Make your own.
Anyway. So I have problems. That's all I can say. I have problems. I like my components nice. Thus, it's reflected in my product. Well, the initiative of bidding, you use your resources, and the resources that you have are oil. You also have these SROs, which is kind of like a production. You have iron. Oil is by far the most the resource that's the hardest to get, and that you have the least of. I played the UK and the Americans. Josiah was playing the Axis. Joseph was playing the Russians and the Chinese. The Chinese have kind of a stalling effect in the game. They really can't do a whole lot except get a bunch of troops. The Russians, though, and that Russian front is a very important aspect to the game, as it is in Axis and Allies, of course. in Axis and Allies, you're kind of letting the United States economic engine build up so that later in the game they can roll through. And that doesn't happen in this game so much. If you don't make some early move initiatives to get your troops in place for the next few rounds, they're really not going to have the impact that you need them to have in the game. Well, not playing it, you don't know that. So this is one of those things you got to play it a lot more. The game turns, the planning terms are very long. We started this game at 9:30. We taught the game for about 40 minutes, which wasn't too bad. At 6:30, we still had not finished. At that time, Josiah had pretty much cleaned our clocks. Yeah, he's played this game several times online, so he kind of knew what to do, and he doesn't let up on you. So it was fun. The planning was fun. The battle mechanism and the way the dice rolled with this battle board was super cool. I love that battle board. The production is really good. It's a World War II combat strategic game. I love those kind of games. But the time, and it just feels like there should be some things that could streamline those strategic planning phases. It feels like too much time is spent there than really letting the game go. And if you don't start well, you're going to be done. And I noticed somebody just Ben posted that he lost in 20 minutes while they were play testing.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm going to say I've only played it once, so I don't feel like this is very fair, but I'm going to say not so bad.
But that's what this is. This is the good, the not so bad, and the ugly. It's our first impressions. It's not a final review.
If I had the opportunity to have a whole day to play a game, and we took a day off that in between Christmas and New Year's break, we spent the whole day doing this, and it was great. I enjoyed my time with Josiah and Joseph, but it was it got a little old and drug on and outweared its welcome. Wore its welcome. Yeah, and when I'm playing TI4, for instance, and we've scheduled a whole day, I'm engaged the entire time. And there were times I felt like, okay, I got to check my email. I need to. I don't know. It was just not quite as exciting to me as all the games of Axis and Allies. And I think it was just the downtime of the strategic planning and the complexity of it that needed to be streamlined a little bit. But on the other hand, had some pretty cool stuff.
Okay.
Really ticked off about the map. Did I talk about the map? I can tell you about the map.
Really ticked off about the minis, Fantasy Flight. Did I talk about the minis?
You talked about the bases. Yeah, the bases of the minis. Well, anyway, there you go. Not so bad. We did it. The good, the not so bad, and the ugly. And now to our next sponsor, Arcane Wonders.
Yay! Boom, 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 boom.
Well, we've talked about Arcane Wonders and all the fantastic games. You're seeing a bunch of these games behind me. Royals, Dice Tower Essential games. You've got Smartphone Inc. that you can get a hold of. Dragon Scales, Volcano Island. You've got so many good critters. So many fantastic, the Sheriff of Nottingham and other games that you can get from Arcane Wonders. But they've got a new game coming out. This is pretty interesting. It's called Sherlock 13. I don't know if you can pull that up yet, Barry, but this is a deduction game. And it looks like it actually felt, when I was reading through all of it, I haven't seen the game yet, but very reminiscent of like a card game version of Clue. Where a certain cards are put away and then you're trying to deduct who did it, essentially. And yet there's a couple mechanisms in there that are a little bit different than Clue, so that I think it adds that gamer complexity to it, where you're actually asking these questions and a little bit of hidden information, those kind of things. The artwork on the cards, and I believe this game has had a reworking of another game, if I remember right, where they're bringing it back.
Yeah, this is. Oh wow, there's different versions here. But yeah, this Sherlock 13 came out in 2000, and where did the year just go? 2013. So it was already published by many publishers, including, well, Arcane Wonders there. And I don't recognize any of those publishers. Korean board games. But yeah, I know I've definitely seen this before.
Well, I think it's going to be one of these lighter weight, accessible games that they add into their product catalog. And I'm not sure if this is a Dice Tower Essential game or not, to be honest. I was going to ask Robert Geisinger about it, but it looks really good. And anyway, when Arcane Wonders puts stuff out, I know they're very thoughtful about what they're doing. You can still pledge for Foundations of Rome, and you can still get the Roman-themed 3-foot by 5-foot Game Topper game mat. That's amazing. That mat is so gorgeous. In addition, you can still go in and late pledge for their Freedom 5 Kickstarter, which just went to the moon. Beautiful production of this great Sentinels of the Multiverse themed game with designer Richard Launius that has the Defenders of the Realm system in it, and a lot of people buzzing about that particular game. You can still late pledge. Go to arcanewonders.com. And with that, we're going to move right on into the Babble topic.
And now it's time for the
Babble, 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 Berkey and Badger's board game babble.
That's awesome.
Get off your phone.
And yeah, it's like business is my life. I respond to emails like that, and I respond to social media things. It's like I'm never not doing it. So we're driving home from Fargo last night, and sure enough, I get a call, and so we have a long call with a customer from California. Super fun, though.
Driving home from Christmas.
He goes, "Can I give you the order number?" I said, "Well, I'm driving right now, but let's talk about it."
Yeah. It's got 6 digits. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's really nice. Is there a curvy one in there? Yeah, there's an 8.
He was actually from Maryland and in the military, so we got to talk about a lot of fun stuff. And that's the part about it for me, is I get to make new friends, and I don't consider I love interacting with them, so it's pretty cool.
Cool.
Anyway, so the Babble topic, what are we going to talk about, Sire?
Okay, we are going to take a little time to talk about some of those memorable moments. I'm going to move the script over onto this screen so it looks like I'm looking at you. We're going to take some time.
I'm looking down on the computer at you instead of the camera, too. So.
I'm going to talk about some of those memorable moments from our gaming life to try and lighten the spirit, because 2020 has been a bit of a bummer. Things have been different this year, and for some, it's been very difficult time. It's now time to shed a little light on those things that have passed. So we're just going to babble about some of our favorite gaming memories, because what goes around comes around and around.
Absolutely.
And around. Just intimidates.
And likewise, too, I don't want to make light of the difficulties of 2020, because it has been a horrible year for many people. But, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I also tend to like to focus on the good things that happen. And so I get talking about this at the end of the year with Barry about this topic. I just thought, why don't we reshare some of our favorite memories about the board game hobby that would hopefully spur on some good thoughts to other people that maybe would encourage them and strengthen them in their heart in this time too. So
Yeah, one of my recent just memories, I had an email just before New Year from Bombay saying Happy New Year, Happy Christmas, stuff like that. And it said, when are you available? Are you available for Cannes? Are you available for the Birmingham Game Festival? Are you available for Essen? And it's like, that put a smile on my face. It's like, all right, okay, yes, possibly.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to a few festivals this year, even if it's just like the ones at the back end of the year. I'm looking forward to them, and so so a lot of publishers, I think.
I really hope that we'll be able to attend Essen, and I hope that they'll be able to schedule a later UK Games Fair. You know, I'm not really sure what things are going to look like early in the year. I don't think much is going to be happening personally, but we'll see. But my topics, I've went from number 5 all the way down to the top one. And the problem with doing lists like this is I'm leaving out so many amazing experiences. I'm leaving out people that I deeply care about that I've had fantastic, amazing experiences that might just not be recalling or whatever. You know, it's just like I was remembering the Kemet experience that we had that was so amazing at BGG Con. And I could go on and on about all those experiences. I mean, how many amazing friendships that I have developed in this hobby that means so much to me. So if I didn't comment or didn't bring it out, please don't feel slighted in any way, because it's probably much more just has to do with what my recent memory is clicking here, and some of the things that come to mind at first without going into a crazy deep thought about it. So
yeah, mine are not in any particular order, but they're just things which are gonna linger with me till the day I die, and they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for board games.
Yeah, that's I kind of ranked mine because I just thought it was kind of fun, but I think any of these could probably be flipped around, and it probably really doesn't matter. But my number five in my rich summoner voice, or not rich, Eric. So Origins 2018, we had this amazing meetup with the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast. This was a meetup that was held over at the, what do they call that again now? Something brewery, the Breweresque Brewery. What was the name of that?
Burlesque?
No, not Burlesque. No, it wasn't that. Gordon Bruce Brewery. And they have pretty good food there, but they have this outdoor pavilion area. And Brian Pope and Ryan Bruns and I both went out there. And one of the things we enjoyed doing at Origins every year is we would try to plan one time where we could just go out and have a cigar together. We enjoyed these unique opportunities to go celebrate a little bit and have a cigar. Anyway, we did that. But got to meet, the Secret Cabal crew. And I'm pretty sure this was 2018. Maybe it was 2017. But in this particular meetup, we had the opportunity to sit at the table with Jamie Keggy from the Secret Cabal, with Stephen Bonacore, which I had a lot of respect for. I've since lost all respect for him because he's retired now and living in Florida. Have no respect anymore. But when did I ever refuse? No. We love the podfather of gaming, Stephen. Okay, I was trying to do a Tom Vassal skip there, but okay. Anyway,
do I look like a vassal?
Kind of.
A vessel.
You put on a hat.
Yeah.
So met Steve from the Secret Cabal, and we also got to meet Bender. And I got to tell you, I just love that guy. I hardly get to talk to him, but
did you bite his shiny at last?
What?
Did you bite his shiny at last?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, hopefully someone does.
That just went right over.
Well, the most popular animated character in the world, Bender. Oh, dearie me.
I don't get it.
Okay.
So
Fair.
Brian Bender from the Lords of the Dungeon, he's a historical genius. He loves history. And I met him and Steve, and we got talking about beef jerky and the time that Chris Miller's took my whole bag of beef jerky and at this other meetup. And that was so funny. We laughed. And anyway, I had my Spoils of War costume on that time where I was the big Viking chieftain, and he thought it was so funny. And I had my big beard that time. And we hung out with all these people, and I bet you we hung out there till like 11:30, and nobody wanted to go. It was just from one conversation. Gil Mello was there and got to hang out with him. The Blue Peg, Pink Peg crew were there. The Brawling Brothers were there. And there's just so many amazing friendships that were had at that. And it was kind of like a starting point of a deeper relationship with this crew. So anyway, now we actually sponsor the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast, and I've gotten to know the whole crew much better. And I just love those guys and love the camaraderie. And Brian Pope and Ryan Bruns was with Mayday, some of my dearest friends in the hobby. So anyway, that was my number 5.
None of that's ringing a bell there.
Oh, Futurama. Yeah, I don't know.
That's Bender. Well, and he always says, "Bite my shiny metal ass."
Okay, that's why I don't watch it.
Oh dear. Kabuki. I expected Kabuki to get it at least anyway. So.
All right. So what's one of your?
Okay, one of mine. Probably one of my first gaming festivals here in France.
Oh.
Me and my wife, she drives there because, I don't like driving on French roads. And we go to a convention and we're looking at all these board games and we just walk around and I'm thinking, oh, that looks nice and this looks nice. And we go past this stand where there is what was recently on Kickstarter, Crossmaster Arena.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that one. Okay. Now we walk past the stand and there's all these lovely minis. And because it's an amazing case. Because it's got some amazing little minis in here. These minis are beautiful. And we're big fans of the cartoon Wakfu, which is what this is all based on. Well, actually, it's based on an MMO. But we walk past the stand and they have some prototype second series minis, which are gorgeous. And the Kickstarter had just come out in America. And I was really looking at them. And I said to my daughter, whatever you do, don't touch. And she didn't touch. But guess who did touch? My wife.
Oh.
She picked one up. She looked at it and, oh, these are really nice. Oh, we should get this game. Next thing I know, this mini that she had in her hand is in 4 pieces on the floor. And it's a prototype. And it's like the only one of this figure.
Oh, no.
And instantly, my heart just sank because, I know the value of a prototype and its importance in the world. And oh my God, I could not believe that my wife had dropped it. But it was okay. We managed to.
This is a good memory? This is a good memory?
This is a good memory because we got talking afterwards, and it's something that I can rub my wife's face in every now and again as well. It's just, but it is a good memory.
That never works for me. That never ever works for me.
But there was that instant shock value. But afterwards, it was like we were all laughing and having a good time and talking about the game and everything. And they were explaining the game and how it worked. And we said that we were Wakfu fans and that they showed us more stuff and stuff that shouldn't have been seen at the time. And so, yeah, for me, that was a good memory, going to my first convention, board game convention, and my wife breaking a prototype.
So did you get the prototype all fixed up, or?
Yeah. It clicked together quite easily, luckily. Yeah.
So it wasn't devastating. Okay. Number 4. This happened at Board Game Geek Con. And I believe this was in 2016. It might have been 2015. It was early in our exposure to what I consider the greater board game hobby, is where I started becoming really immersed, I think, in 2013. You know, I've been a gamer since high school, played all of the Milton Bradley, Big Box, Fortress America, Shogun, all those type of games. We've talked about that before. But really, it wasn't until maybe the last 10 years that I've really been more engrossed and obsessive about board gaming and just really loving the hobby, and then developing more relationships in the hobby. And you're going to notice a common theme in all of my experiences. They're all very relationship heavy, because that ultimately is what matters to me. And at BGG Con, this is right after we had just launched the episode with Board Game Theater, The Good Sheriff of Nottingham. And my daughter, Maddie, and Hannah had made this elaborate Sheriff of Nottingham costume from the actual artwork of the board game. And we filmed this episode of the Sheriff of Nottingham with all the characters in context. And we have these little cameo office type of side bits that were part of the comedy that added to the gameplay. And it was really, really something. And anyway, long and short of that, I had made this costume, but I made a wood emblem for the sheriff badge. And it was on these huge chains, and I made it out of wood. So these are all hand cut, hand sanded, a clay emblem on top of that, finished, everything that looked like the thing, but it was huge and super heavy. At the time, Scott Morris was from Crits Happen and now from GTS. He was the sales manager, marketing director for Arcane Wonders. I had never met the owner of Arcane Wonders, Brian Pope, designer of Mage Wars. But I was really excited, just really, really excited about that. And I made I made an extra one of these badges for Tom Vassell, who I'd gotten to be friends with, to Scott Morris. And then I brought one for Brian Pope. And on the back of it, I inscribed congratulations on a great game. But I'd never met him. So we're sitting at the Dice Tower banquet that's a Dice Tower Live thing. And they were giving out different awards and different things. And I did a little comedy bit as the Sheriff of Nottingham. And then as I was sitting down, I sat next to Brian at the table, but I hadn't really been introduced to him. But we kind of introduced just quickly, but the show was going on. And then at the end, I gave him this medallion. And he was just he looked at me with the strangest look. He was like, why are you giving me this? And I said, well, honestly, I just love this game. And I was making them, and I thought maybe you'd really appreciate this just because it's your first, big hit since Mage Wars, and that's all. I don't want anything, it's just, that was why I did it. And he couldn't believe it. He just was like, I can't, this is amazing. He still has that. It was at that point that Brian and I became just really close friends in the hobby. And every convention that we've gone to, we always make it a point to go out to dinner together. We do a live Skype now and do a live cigar party with a couple of friends that we do, once a month, just to kind of revisit and stay current with one another. But he's a dear friend, have great respect for him as a company owner and as a business person. And that all happened at that BGG Con. So one of my favorite memories.
Okay. I might stick with that then, because BGG Con is one of those memories which is priceless. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting up with me.
No.
in your own private residence and driving me all the way out there as well. And
From Minnesota all the way to Dallas, Texas.
Yeah. Apart from just the wonderful friendship, it was the whole experience and hanging out. The evenings were the fun part. Hanging out with you, hanging out with Brian, hanging out with Rob, hanging out with Trent.
Yep.
All of that.
Nathan Howard helped us in the booth too.
Yeah. And also just bumping into Scott and Lincoln every now and again and having a friendly chat with them. You know, normally I get to have like a few words with them at Essen, but to actually spend a lot more time in the same hotel with everyone, have a quick, word with Chaz and then have a quick word with Rodney and all of that is a priceless moment. It's something that I don't think I am ever going to experience again. It was mind-blowing. The library, the people there, the games, the sights, the sounds, hanging out with Lance, going out with Lance, trying to find a restaurant, and he's trying to find Pokemon on his phone.
Yeah, that's when all that was Pokemon Go was so big. Yeah.
Oh dear, but it's a memory.
The pie.
yeah.
Because we went to the restaurant Babe's Chicken Shack and had that amazing chicken dinner with all the fixings and those pies that were amazing. We took the whole team there.
Yeah, and you guys just ate me under the table. I don't know. My appetite, it seems to have waned, even though I was eating salads, which is strange. But I remember the pie. I remember the extremely large pepper grinder that Brian wanted pepper on his. It was like massive. It's like half the size of the waiter.
Yeah.
But I remember that meal
we went to.
Yeah, and I remember sitting with Tom as well, and just being able to talk to Tom like I'm the real me and not some kind of trying to look good to him. I'm just being normal. I'm not trying to show off and oh yes, I review games as well. Oh, I like you, Tom, but you like me too, don't you? But no, just that kind of Did you watch that game last night? Oh yeah, did you? What did you think of that? And have you seen that film? Oh yeah, it's really good. Just having a normal kind of conversation, even though that conversation did divert heavily into companies and what they're doing and what they're doing seedy and what they're doing brilliantly. But the BGG Con for me, what was it? 2 years now. Yeah, my first big. And that's not my first big American thing because I did Gen Con. Right. But that was like the first time that I got to really hang out with you.
Well, and we had such a great time in the hot games room playing games after I was going to mention this one, but I kind of thought you might. And so I thought, well, I can maybe add to it. But it was like, I had such a great time with you too. You flew into Fargo, so you were able to stay at our home for a few days, and we were just able to enjoy some company and get together and have some good food and play games. We played Batman, and that was such a good time. And then likewise, just the trip down, there was 2 days of just horsing around, driving down to Dallas. But when you do conventions, it's a lot of work. You set up the booth and, there's a different level of tension because of the pressure to get everything done and then to make sure you're handling your business. You have to go out of fun hobby, I'm here to have fun mode, and all of a sudden be this business manager, and so I tend to, I always look, I love working with the customers. I love setting that stuff up. I think we do a nice job of it, but it's like, what's really important to me is the time I get to spend with all of the crew and that we get to spend after the fact and go hang out with one another. And so I likewise thought that was an amazing time.
Yeah. I liked it mainly because I was working, but I wasn't really working.
It's such a laid back convention. We had way too many helpers in the booth.
Yeah.
We didn't need half the people we had, but yeah. Well, my third one, and I've talked about this a lot, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but was my first encounter with a large convention, and that was at Gen Con, that I took Josiah and his best friend and his dad. Both of us dads, for the graduation gifts, gave our sons a all expense paid trip to Gen Con. Mm-hmm. And back then it was about 40,000 people versus 70. So it was still large, but not as large as it's become. And we just had such a fun time loading up that Buick LeSabre, and off on the road we went. And we saw, I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe. It was that time in the board game room. You bought tickets to go play board games in the library. And we're playing the game Nothing Personal. Tom Vassell comes over, and I don't know who Tom Vassell is, but my son and Trevor, they're like, they can't talk. It's Tom Vassell. You know, they're like starstruck, and I'm looking up at this big guy with his red shirt and hat on, and going, well, who are you? What are you doing here? You know, and he says, have you whacked anybody yet? Oh, do you know this game? He goes, well, I'm the designer. And so he gives us this little thing. The next night, he's wandering around all by himself, and he sees the four of us congregating, looking for something to do. And he goes, you guys want to play a game? I said, well, yeah. And he chooses El Grande for us. And we play 5-player El Grande. Oh, man, what an amazing time we had playing that game. And it was like, here's this celebrity in the hobby that I didn't even know, but he just made that moment so enjoyable for my family, for Barry's family, it brought us into the hobby in a way that I don't know if we would have been impacted as much as I had been. And from there, it began a friendship with Tom, actually, and turned into Sheriff of Nottingham, and him being all for us becoming a Dice Tower contributor with Board Game Theater. And I mean, it was just this amazing evolution that happened from this moment that we had. And really, really fond memories. One notable thing, I don't remember if I've ever talked about this, but we had the Buick LeSabre. We bought so many games. We had 4 people, and we all had just like a bag type of thing. But I mean, we were taking all the clothes out of our suitcases and stuffing them under the seats and in every nook and cranny so that we could put board games in our luggage and put board games everywhere. Because I mean, the guys in the back, the kids, they're in the back with board games in between them and their legs crossed for a 12-hour trip home. Because Queen Games had this thing where you buy one game, you get one free, and then the next day you get another 20% off or whatever, and got all these coupons. And man, we were loading up on crap. We had so many games. You should have seen the trunk picture and our hall pictures. You know, we were like totally lost it. Big fun, big fun,
big fun. It's just occurred to me that I've got a lot of bad memories that I could share. They were actually the first ones that came to mind when I started making this list. Like the time I went to a convention, and then afterwards we went for something to eat, and my daughter ended up cracking her head, and we had to spend the rest of the evening in hospital.
I remember that one.
The time we went to Essen, and my wife had sciatica, so when you went for one day because she couldn't walk around, and it was. Yeah. So anyway, good memory. A good memory is I enjoy teaching games. That's why I did board game reviews, because I wanted to teach people games in a quick and efficient manner. And so luckily I got to work. I've been working for Bombayix, and it was at one Essen. I was teaching games like Abyss and Imaginarium, and had this group sit down, and they were all German, but it was all right because two of them could speak English and understand what I was saying. 2 of them didn't. So I explained Imaginarium in a very, very quick and very fluid way. And Imaginarium is a kind of medium weight game to learn. And after like about 5 or 10 minutes, I'd gone through everything. The one guy said, "Yeah, that's fine. We can play it." So I watched them for a little while, and he was explaining everything in German, and they were playing. And they didn't have any questions. I said, "Do you want to? If you have any questions, just give me a shout. I'll just be here, out and about. No questions whatsoever." I was like, "Wow, I taught that really well."
Yeah.
And it wasn't till after they'd finished playing, they all got up, and this very tall, bold guy says to me, "Thank you very much for explaining the game. You did a fantastic explanation." And obviously, he was able to relay that explanation directly to his friends. And it wasn't till he'd gone away practically that someone said to me, "Do you know who that was?" I was like, "No." He goes, "That's Stefan Feld." I was like,
"Oh, no, really?"
What? And so, that's a memory. You know, I'm not a Stefan Feld fan. I think I've played one of his games, but I know of Stefan Feld. But to have just that compliment after, you know, you spend 4 days teaching games to many, many people, and that's just like the 1 or 2 times out the whole convention that someone will say, "Thank you very much for explaining the game. You explained it very, very well."
Wow, that's great compliment.
Yeah. You know, and trying to make it entertaining.
You're a great board game reviewer. I think your reviews have always been very thoughtful and easy to follow. I had to meet at Gen Con a couple years ago at the Secret Cabal meetup, actually, at the Alexander Hotel. Stefan Feld, Ryan Matthews, and Isaac Childress, back with Travis Reynolds from Queen Games. They were all in the back room, and Travis says, "You got to come on over here." I end up getting to meet all these amazing designers. I am a huge Stefan Feld fan. I love his games. But anyway, yeah, that's super cool. Well, number 2 for me is another experience that we got to enjoy with my good friend Barry Babblot and my other good friend Paul Grogan. It was at the UK Games Expo a couple years ago. My first time there, we had a booth. It was a really little booth. First kind of dipped our toe into the water, so to speak. And we flew into Heathrow, London. Barry had driven from France with his vehicle, picked us up, and then off to what is the town they live in again? Cuttingham?
No,
Cuthbert. I don't know.
Cullingman, Hamptonshire.
Comptonburg.
Comptonshire. Yeah. Compton.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Trumpton. With Pew, Barley McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibbet, and Grubb. That's for you English people who are my age.
Well, we had so much fun driving from London to this place because it's down in southwestern shore type of place. They had, you know, this farm side, driving through the countryside, I mean, with the hedgerows and the hills. And it was just like, this was great. We had so much fun on that drive. And then we got to stay at Paul Grogan and his girlfriend's home. And I mean, they're just so gracious people. And, you know, we're hunkered down on the floor and on an air mattress and stuff, but we got to go out to eat with them. And we got to stay a couple days, and we played Flamme Rouge, the Stronghold Games. And he had his painted miniatures that he had just painted. Oh, yeah. We got to play the Lord of the Rings game on his game topper there in his studio. We just had such a great time with Paul and his friends and us there. Just loved it. And then we went to the Games Expo, and the day before we went to Bath, the town of Bath, also, where he kind of helped us, toured us around a little bit. We met another one of his friends, and that was super cool. Then we also went to Warwick Castle the day before the UK Expo, Barry and Josiah and I, and got to go through all of that castle of William the Conqueror, and talk about a great, fantastic day, watching the jousting, watching the bird, the predator bird show that they had, and, the trebuchets, and going through the castle, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I've forgotten about that. I've still got that on video, and I haven't edited. But yeah, I remember driving past Stonehenge, and you were like, "Oh, Stonehenge, where?" And driving down the small little kind of alleyway with my big French car just to get to Paul's house. Oh, yes.
And then staying at the hotel that we stayed at, that we traveled, but we had so many great meal times together too. And that's one thing about conventions, just the after hour stuff, and go out and have dinner together, and to continue to, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, the beer and food, always a good combination with good company.
Yeah, that's for sure. We were introduced to Guinness.
Oh, yes. That was, made a change from all those Belgian beers that I get to drink. Okay. Some of these I'm having trouble trying to mix together to try and make them into one thing. Okay. Yeah. I think another one of my memories is the people that I've had here. Yes, I've had a lot of my friends here, and that's always nice. We get to sit at the game topper table. But some of the most memorable moments are when you have board game designers come to your house and play games with you.
Yeah,
I've had the privilege of just behind the camera here, sitting at a table playing Batman with Frederic Henry, the designer of Batman Gotham City Chronicles. I've had the privilege of cooking an English breakfast and playing games with Emmanuel and Matthew from Sorry We Are French before they started doing Kickstarter and then just going into publishing all their games like Ganymede and Greenville 1989. But just, I don't know, just having people like that come to your house. I've had my good friend Philip, who is actually been working for Trick Track as well. So it's like, it's just someone I know, I met, and then you invite them round and you play games and you eat together. So many memorable experiences of just, not just my friends, but also people in the board gaming industry just come round, sit at your table and play games with you. And it's like, mind-blowing. And enjoyable. And at the moment, I've got recently, after I went to Cannes last year, working for BGG, opposite, there was a booth where there was a Kickstarter game. I can't remember the name of the game, and I apologize to Nicholas. But I got talking to one of the guys who was designed the game, and he went to school with my wife. And he works in Paris. He works for like a major TV company. He makes TV programs. But every now and again, when he visits his family, he gives me a quick call. Said, "I'm in the area. Do you want to play a game? Come on round." It's so yeah. So
well, this is a great segue for me to talk about my number one, and that was the fact that our first trip to Essen, we were able to go to the Essen show, of course, meet Barry at the show, and all of the things that we were looking to do with Game Toppers to bring to Europe and to the UK all happened in vetting some fulfillment partners and so forth at the show. All the amazing times we had at the show, but the highlight for us was not the show, even though I could tell you some stories about that. That was awesome. Was after the show, we got to drive all the way over to France with Barry, my wife and I, and Joan came with me. Joan's not a heavy gamer. She'll play some family weight games with family, but that's not her main thing. She loves Scrabble. She'll play Scrabble till the cows come home. I can't believe how much she plays Scrabble, but on her iPad. But anyway, she spent one afternoon in the big hall. Picked her up at about noon. We went and had lunch at the food court, and then we walked around and we played one game of Ice Cool with a couple from Australia, and she loved it. She really had a good time playing it. But it was like by 3:00, she goes, "Oh, okay, I'm done now." She had enough of that, and a horrible thing to throw a non-gamer into is the big Essen Fair, of course, but just crowded like crazy. Anyway, but then we go to the Doublets' home, and the Doublets, Aurora and their beautiful children, the French hillside, the Champagne lands. Barry had painstakingly planned all kinds of things for us to go see the cathedral at Reims, to see the World War I memorial, for us to tour a champagne factory that was there. Was it Monet, or what was the champagne factory?
Mercier.
Yeah, Mercier, and underneath the most expensive highway, to go through those cellars, learn about champagne, to take us through the vineyards and show us the hill country and how all of that happened. And to one of the things that was so cool to us is the first night that we were there, you taught us what aperitif meant. I thought aperitif was this. I got aperitif. So they come out with this huge cheese tray and these snack little cheese things, and then he introduced us to some champagne and a byproduct called ratafia. Well, I'm not a big wine drinker, but he gives me this little shot of ratafia, and we're having the cheeses and the crackers and the little meats and the pâtés, and he takes us to this grocery store that has like walls of cheese and coolers full of cheese and breads, and it's like my mind blow. I'm like, I'm in food heaven here. I want to cook. I mean, I am so excited about all the fun stuff in that grocery store. But he's serving it to us, and we get this little ratafia, and I go, "Ooh, what is this?" And I looked at Joan. I said, "This is really good." She tried it and was like, "Eh." But the champagne was fine. But it was like, "Could I have some more ratafia, please?" I told Joan after the fact. I said, "If I lived over here, I might have a problem. I'd like that ratafia." We go over to your father-in-law's house, Denny, and end up he doesn't speak any English, but I start talking to him about the stone masonry work that I'd done, and he was a craftsman, and we looked at his shop, and before you know it, he understood. We had similar gardening skills, we had craftsmanship skills, and we just became friends, even though we couldn't communicate well. I remember him taking a little piece of the basil plant and pulling it off the basil plant and putting it right up to my lips and into my mouth. It was like, that's the way we do it here in France. And it was just so much fun. And you guys treated us to such a beautiful time. And then you took us to Paris. And we were leaving from Paris, but you spent a day with us. We saw the Eiffel Tower. We saw the tomb of the soldier. We went by all these amazing places, Notre Dame, before they had the problem. We didn't actually go in because of time, but we were there. What a beautiful time we had. And then Joan and I got to stay a couple days in Paris before flying home. And it was just the trip of a lifetime. Such that it had to be my number one. And much of that had to do with great thanks for all that you guys did to help us enjoy that trip.
No, it was short, but it was fun. We could have done that for weeks on end, just aperitif and ratafia.
We played a few board games.
In fact, I'm still doing it.
Well, what we didn't know about aperitif is that, you brought this stuff out like at 6:00. Well, it's 7:30 and we still haven't eaten. We're still snacking and doing this stuff. And I'm like, well, so is this supper? Is this it? And oh no. And then they come out with this great big honking cheese fondue thing with this melty cheesy thing that you put in the plate, and you pull out all these meats and you put this all on this thing. And he said, we're not used to, I told Joan, I said, aperitif, I said, I'm going to either be full or drunk. I don't know what. Sit here and keep eating this and drinking Ricafia for an hour and a half. I'm ready to eat, and it's like such a different way of, you guys are taking your time and enjoying it all.
Yeah. I wish I could say that for New Year and Christmas. It's just like too long. I just want to go to bed. It's 12:00 and we still haven't had dessert.
Well, that was my number one. Do you want to finish us out with the topic in the show with another thought?
Yeah. Hopefully we haven't put everybody to sleep with our dribblings of.
Yeah, we're talking about our best memories, though. This is what gaming has been.
Yeah.
To us.
So the last one, it has to be said, is Hero Quest. It's something that is going to be with me forever and ever. Although the game I will not play again ever, but it was the game that got me started. You probably say the same for Axis and Allies or something like that. But without Hero Quest and those every Saturday mornings from 10 till 12 at the table with my friends doing a campaign every week and feeling, I don't know, I felt important for the first time playing as like the dungeon master, deciding really the fates of these heroes and having this back and forth and chatting and doing this with my best school friends. It's a memory and an experience that I will never recapture. I mean, kind of catching it now with my daughter, and that we're playing bigger and harder games. I mean, recently with Batman and Dungeon Pets, when I play against Charlotte, there's that banter. We start playing the jokes. She's her English has developed, and the more we hang out together, the more our communication is fluid, and we're connecting with each other. We're quoting the same films and we're laughing. There's a lot of South Park at the moment. I'll have to. My wife doesn't like it, but hey, she's a teenager. It would be Heroescape and those moments that for the first time with my group of friends, I kind of felt superior, but I felt important and I felt control and I found my place. One of my friends was the one that organized doing things outside. One of my friends was a guy who had a video camera and would organize doing films. And I was the one that had the board game, which everyone loved playing and was taking them on this adventure. And so, it's an unescapable memory. Again, I can still see Games Workshop and that game on the shelf and me going over and asking the guy, what is that? Oh, that's a smaller version of Warhammer 4000. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll take that because it's smaller.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's like we narrowed this down to 5 thoughts, and it's like there's no way over the last 10 years of board gaming, and of course, I'm sharing you a lot of I think you're hearing my heart. You're hearing the things that matter to me. And it's less mechanical. Some people would remember very specifically this particular game that they played and what happened in that game.
Yeah. The moment that they played Twilight Imperium and they did this awesome super move with this and that, and they won the game from coming back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I remember that game of Kemet, that we played with the Dukes of Dice with Sean and Raquel from Dukes of Dice, and Ellie was there. And we just had this really awesome game. It was, and at the end, Sean came from behind, and the evil mastermind, all those things, those memories are there. So many family members, the games that were just to the last moment. I remember playing Francis Drake that one time, 5-player, and it looked like I was going to win. And at the very last moment, Josiah won, and he's standing up, and we're all so excited. We can't this moment, and I think I'm going to beat Josiah, and I don't.
I think those memories are a dime a dozen. That's the thing. There's like almost every game that I've played, there's a moment where I think I'm going to win, and then someone pips me. Or there's been times when it's like you're playing this game and you laugh your ass off laughing because of this happens or that happens, or someone says this or that. Those memories are, they happen every time you're at the gaming table. Hopefully they happen at the gaming table every time. And that's what that's what I enjoy about gaming. You step out of yourself, you become someone else, you have a laugh, you exercise your brain in a different way.
But when it comes down to it, when I'm going through a process like this of thinking about the memories, it's all board game related, but it's usually not the board game that I remember. Yeah. What I remember is these experiences and the connection and the relationships. And those are the things that, I really value the most. And I think it comes out because I'm not thinking about the mechanics of anything that ever happened, any game that I won or lost. I remember those things, of course, and they're all great, but it's these times like Trent. I remember sitting down with Trent and you and Rob playing Coldwater Crown at BGG Con. He mentioned that earlier. What a great time we had that night. Those are, I long for those times again. And I really do believe that the time is coming, that better days are ahead, and we are going to get the game together again.
Yeah. I'm going to be at Cannes. I'm going to phone up Scott and say, Scott, I'm going to Cannes. You coming? You going to pay for me to go there? You want me to work for you? But yeah, there's so many memories of meeting people.
You can be the one. You can be the Wolf Blitzer of Cannes. I'm here on the behalf of Board Game Geek.
Let's go over to the board. Yeah, but I mean, I've done many interviews, and some of them have been so amazing. Like, I interviewed my boss, who's now my boss, Ben Loomis from Sirenscape. I interviewed Bruno from Serious Pulp, and that got me the job of doing the soundtrack for Seventh Continent. So there's all these memories, but these are the ones that I'm going to probably cherish the most. The breaking of the Crossmaster, which was so funny. The teaching of Stefan Feld, going to BGG Con with you and hanging out with you. Having Fred Henry and Emmanuel play games at my house. And, of course, the last one, which I've forgotten because I didn't write it down. Hero
Quest. Well, thank you all so much for enduring our memories. I know that you've probably all had your memories, too. And hang on to those memories. That's what life's about. Let's make some new memories. We want to thank our sponsor, Arcane Wonders. They've been so gracious to stay with us all these years, this little monkey-driven podcast that we have. And we're so grateful. Check them out and all the great Dice Tower essentials at arcanewonders.com. Also, check out Game Toppers at gametoppersllc.com. Still time to get some of our limited inventory. Things are going fast. And stay tuned for the next upcoming Kickstarter. And with that, Barry, how can they find us?
They can find us on, excuse me, they can find us on boardgametheater.com, or they can go to boardgameseverybodyshould.com, or they can even go to boardgamegeek.com and search out our guild, which is 2248. Apart from that, there is obviously all the usual podcasting, streaming systems, where you can look for Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble.
Yes, and Board Game Geek Guild. Are we going to do a poll about this or something?
It's a bit hard to do a poll about memories, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, which memory do you think was the best? Berkey's or mine? There you go. There's a poll.
Yeah, and list them all. List them all. Rank the memory. All right. Well, with that, we're going to send us on out and check us out on iTunes and Stitcher Radio for the full professionally audio edited by Sir Badger the Brave.
We're so glad we had this time together. Now it's time to go. It won't be long until we have another show. So keep us in mind, get online. Berkey and Badger will be back in no time.
No time.
So anyway, there I was in the bar drinking, and this person comes up to me and